It's a little bit of a late start in terms of the review for the first two games of the round of 16, mainly because one of the clip that I had to basically put here on the hook was missing, and that I lost it when I accidentally dropped it onto the ground, and I had to look for a replacement one, which just a couple of minutes ago I was able to find a replacement one, and hence that's why the clip has a different color than it is before. But that being said, let us actually get into tonight's review and look at these first two round of 16 games. And if you expect these games to have a lot of action and goals in these first two round of 16 matchup, I'm sorry to say, but you've been disappointed by these first two games, because not only the fact that at times these two games look very stale and kind of was very hard to watch, but there was only 2 goals that was scored combined in both of these games, and both of these teams move on into the round of 16 because of a 1-0 result. And we start in the first game, which was Orlando City winning 1-0 against Montreal, although Orlando City should have had more than 1 goal in this game. And if you're an Orlando City fan, although you're satisfied that your team is going to be moving on into the quarterfinal, there were times at this game when they watch how their team play, kind of reminds them of what happened to this team a couple of years back, which is a team that had bunch of chances of potentially scoring a goal, and they wasted those chances. And a lot of that happened in the first half, with the start of that being in the 6th minute when Pereira had the first real chance of the game, but unfortunately skies it over the bar. And although Orlando looked great early in the first 15 minutes, and I really like the way that they kind of move the ball and play those 1-2 kind of ball to get themselves in a great position to finish their chances and scoring a goal, they weren't able to finish those chances. And one of those big chances that they missed came in the 20th minute when Chris Muter clearly should have made it 1-0, as he missed a tap-in chances while there was an empty net. Like, he was literally 3 yards out from the goal. And how in the world did he not tap it into the empty net is still a mystery. And how in the world did he not even make any contact of that is still a big mystery. By the way, 17 minutes later, Dia would rob Mendes a chance to open the scoreline for Orlando City before Mendes actually scored a goal. But the only problem is it was disallowed because of offside. Now, this instant was a little bit controversial because I did see the replay a couple of times of this instant, and I'll tell you what, it was very, very close in terms of this being offside call. And in many ways, I was kind of surprised they didn't go to VAR in this instant, because usually when you have these type offside call, they usually go to VAR and look at it. And I have a feeling most likely they're going to try to overturn it, because we've seen it throughout this tournament. A lot of tight calls and a lot of calls that has been very close, and you wouldn't think it's clear and obvious that these close calls would be overturned. They got overturned in the end. Now, in the second half, I thought Montreal looked like they were just playing for a penalty kick in this game, and that throughout this game, it was pretty clear that Thierry Henry, he tried his best to not hide the fact that his team is just gonna park the bus and hope that this gets into a shootout when he decided to start a back four. But for majority of this game, they were second best to every single ball, and that at times they just got stuck in their own half. And I just had a feeling that there was no way in the world Montreal is gonna score a goal, and that I have a feeling if they gave up 1 goal in this game, they were going to be doomed. And in the 60th minute, that's when the doomsday scenario happened for Montreal, because they did concede the goal at the hour mark when Akindele basically give Orlando City a 1-0 lead, and finally was able to cash in after those numerous chances that Orlando City has. Although you can also kind of thank the back line of Montreal, who had a little bit of a mix-up and caused a mistake that allowed Akindele to basically slots it into the empty net. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't care, and that he finally get his team the goal that they long deserved throughout this game. Now, after that goal that was scored by Orlando City, Montreal started to finally attack and look to try to get the equalizer, which makes sense because you just cannot sit deep like that when you're down 1-0, and that you're gonna have to open yourself up. And despite the fact that they kind of started to commit a little bit more for on the attack, the final ball and also the attacking threat was pretty much non-existent for Montreal. Like they just cannot put a final no ball and just look very poor on the final third. And that at times I feel like, you know, even though Orlando City at time looked like they were really hanging on to this 1-0 lead, it looked like at time they were very comfortable and looked like they were going to seal out this 1-0 victory, which is exactly what they did as they seal out this 1-0 victory over the Montreal Impact. In terms of the shots in this game, Orlando had 10 shots compared to 7 that Montreal has, 2 shots on goal compared to 1 that Montreal has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that Montreal has. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 57% possession compared to 43% possession that Montreal has throughout this game. So yeah, with this victory, Orlando is moving on into the quarterfinal, although their next opponent is going to be either LAFC or the Seattle Sounders. And if they play like this against LAFC or the Seattle Sounders, yeah, you are not expected to move on into the semifinal. Like Orlando City, whether they face LAFC or Seattle, they got to score more than 1 goal, because you know both of those teams are going to score goals and going to really challenge that Orlando City back line. So I have a feeling Orlando City's got to be more clinical if they want to have a chance against those two teams that look like are going to be favorites heading into the knockout round of this tournament. Now, in the last game of tonight was also a 1-0 win, as I mentioned before, and it was the Union that was able to get the 1-0 victory. Now, there was a couple of half chances by both teams early on, but I also thought the majority of the first half, both teams looked very sloppy, and again, they just seem like whenever they get into the final third, both teams looks clueless of what exactly they want to do. And really, the first meaningful action came in the 43rd minute when Shibelko headed a goal in, but was disallowed because of offside. And unlike the Mendes one that was disallowed for offside, this one was pretty obvious. Like Shibelko was literally three yards offside there, and it was probably the easiest call the linesman will ever make in his life. Now, Shibelko also came out of this game with an injury, and he was subbed off late in the game. So if you're a Union fan, you definitely need to hold your breath in terms of that situation, because you cannot afford to lose a guy that is your most lethal goal scorer on this team. And then right on the stroke of halftime, Santos had a chance to put away a 17-yard shot and opening the score line of this game, but unfortunately he just dragged that shot wide. And in the second half, Andre Blake, who has been stellar in this tournament, continued his stellar form as he was able to deny Gustavo Bo on a free kick. Although I thought New England looked like they were by far the better team in the early parts of the second half, and they really pinned Philly back in the first 15 minutes of this game, and that the Union just could not play it out of the back of New England, and they just kind of get stuck in their own half. But somehow, in some way, they, despite the fact that they looked like they were second best in the early part of the second half, they actually scored the opening goal in this game. And it would be Sergio Santos that scored from Montero to give them a 1-0 lead, although they almost did exactly lead the same thing that they did against Orlando City a couple of days ago, because 2 minutes later, they almost immediately concede after taking a 1-0 lead. But thankfully, Andre Blake was able to rock Buxaw of a Revs equalizer, and this was an amazing save by Andre Blake. Like, Buxaw basically hit this point blank header with power, but somehow, in some way, Blake, with some cat-like reflexes, was able to save that one. New England really pushed hard for the equalizer, but unfortunately they couldn't quite do it due to poor finishing, and also at times they look like they lack ideas to whenever they get into the final third, and that the Union was able to hang on to get a 1-0 victory in this game. Now, in the department in this game, New England had 18 shots compared to 12 that the Union has. Both teams had 5 shots on goal. Shots off target, it was the Union with 6 shots compared to 8 that New England has. 1 shot that was blocked compared to 5 that New England has. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that New England has. And for the Union, as they move on into the quarterfinal, they will wait to see it. Are they going to be playing Sporting KC or the Vancouver Whitecaps in the quarterfinal? Although I have a feeling most likely it's going to be Sporting KC, the one that they're going to be playing in the quarterfinal, because Vancouver, as I said before in the preview, they're the weakest team heading into the round of 16, and they will need to have another similar miracle that they did against the Chicago Fire that got them into this stage, to able to beat Sporting KC. And speaking of Sporting KC, I think Sporting KC, after watching how the Union play in this game, I think they're pretty happy. The fact that they might actually have a chance to actually beat a Union team that didn't really look very good in this game. And especially, as I said about Shibilko, we don't know exactly what happened to him near the end of the game, other than the fact that he kind of suffered an injury. And depending on if that injury is bad enough that he missed the quarterfinal, that is a huge blow to the Union's chance to go deep into this tournament and potentially move on into the semifinal, whether they face Sporting KC or the Vancouver Whitecaps. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of tonight. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these two games? I'm pretty sure a lot of you are going to say it was a very boring game, and that, yes, it was really boring at time in terms of these first two games, and that I hope in some of these future round of 16 games things will eventually pick up. But yeah, we see about that as we head into these next couple of days of round of 16. And as I said, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.